welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news show. This is a live sort of long post-match can't even speak, my throat's gone. This is a live sort of post-match reaction a little bit to yesterday's game. We'll sort of deep dive into that and have some discussions, but we're mostly going to be getting into the news to begin with. We've got an interesting story coming out on Taremi to United, some interesting reports coming out on Todibo, the centre-backs that United are looking at. Two January signings. A little bit of news on Ratcliffe. Could Joel Glazer be in trouble with what he's trying to do with the takeover? Will he be allowed to do what he wants to do? Could Joel Glazer be on his way out? An interesting story that come out today on Joel Glazer being under pressure. We've also got a few reports about Amrabat. Early exit from United. You know, he's not been great at the moment, but he's not had minutes. He's been injured. Reports that Casemiro is set to go to Saudi in the summer. Varane could even go to Saudi in January, but Romano said that Varane is not leaving in January, among many things. So we're going to dive into all the news. And look, I do apologise if this isn't the best live stream in terms of me speaking, but my throat has just been a bit scratchy the last few days. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, ow. So I don't know how long this live's going to be because I'm a little bit ill, but I feel fine for the most part. And I feel like I've been slacking on the live. So please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Probably the worst intro I've done because I couldn't spit out half the words I was trying to say. But you get the point. So let's go for 50 likes. Full sale only. Make sure to smash that like button if you are Glazers out. But I want to start by getting into a report on Amrabat's future. Sort of reports and rumours coming out that Amrabat could be on the way out of Manchester United a lot earlier than expected. So the United Muppeteers spoke about a few things in their recent video. They spoke about Manchester United, obviously priority being a number 8. We've known for a while that United have been looking at Onana, Palacios. They were really interested in number 8, but it's emerging that United will look to sign a number 6 after not being happy with Amrabat and Casemiro this season. Obviously, it's early days. It could change. I think Amrabat will turn things around. I've been really impressed with him in terms of what he did with Fiorentina, what he did with Morocco. I thought his first 2 games for United were really good. I thought his third game for United was really, really good and really impressive. And I think he's not really been utilised properly. We've not played him to his best ability. We keep changing his position. We're playing him out of position. Then he's injured and then we're not playing him. I think it's very hard to judge Amrabat now. But I want to get into what the United Muppeteers. And the United Muppeteers have basically said it's very likely that Casemiro could go to Saudi Arabia at some stage within the next year or two, and that Amrabat probably won't get signed permanently. There was the feeling that United were going to be able to sign Amrabat permanently for 20 million euros at the end of his loan deal. There's a feeling coming out now that United will not have an interest in signing Amrabat permanently and will be looking to bring in a number 6 in the summer. So the question to you in the chat is, what number 6 would you bring in? Because if I was a miracle worker, I'd be bringing in Tchouaméni. But considering I don't think United are going to be in the Champions League next season and our pool might not be as good, I have a feeling we're probably not going to be bringing in Tchouaméni. But do let me know down below what kind of 6 you would bring in as well. I do need to swallow. Let me take some water. But I do apologise if my throat is a bit dodgy today's video. Man U woman 4-0 against Everton. At least the women's side is winning, hey. At least the women's side is winning. But I have to say, I don't feel too bad. Call me crazy. I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I felt worse about United this season. I felt a lot worse about United this season. I wasn't happy, but generally think that was one of the happiest I felt after a loss. Not that I felt happy at all, but I thought, okay, we're out of the Champions League, must-win game, and we bottled it. And maybe I'm at a point where we've just been disappointing me so much this season. I've been disappointed so much by Man United this season that maybe the loss doesn't surprise me. Maybe I'm just used to losing now. But I thought, you know what? I was fuming when we lost 2-1 to Galatasaray. I was fuming with the 3-0 Newcastle defeat. I was fuming with the 3-0 Man City defeat. And I came out of that saying, you know what? I saw something to build on. Look, it wasn't good enough. The mentality's not good enough. Everyone deserves a bit of criticism here and there. But I genuinely did see something to build on in that result. So I'd say, I don't feel totally awful about United. And I think what makes me feel a lot better, and I'm sure it makes you guys feel a lot better, is that Liverpool lost to Toulouse today. So I feel like if United don't win, but then Liverpool lose, at least you feel a little bit better. But obviously I wanted us to win. Obviously I'm annoyed that we've bottled the game. But I think what we saw before we went down to 10 men was actually one of the most promising things I'd seen from United. And I said I'm at the point this season where it's not really about results anymore right off the season. Results are really important, but I'm at the point where we've had so many wins which have not been convincing. And if someone said to me, we finish 5th place and we just play crap and get non-convincing wins, or we finish 10th place but we start to look good and we start to look convincing and we look like we just need 1 or 2 signings. I would take looking convincing. I would take looking promising going forward. But we could criticise United for losing, but to lose a 14th in League One, as Nick Morris has said, Liverpool losing to a 14th League One side. But we have to say, should that goal been ruled out for McAllister's arm? I think it's very, very harsh. I think VAR again, poor officiating, and you think the Premier League officiating is bad, but you go over to Europe and the officiating is even worse. And one thing I do want to say here before I get into the news is so the Liverpool player didn't get sent off for this. Liverpool are going to make such a fuss about it hitting McAllister's arm and being ruled out, and I understand why Liverpool are going to make a fuss. But didn't Rashford do that yesterday? Liverpool player shielding the ball, no VAR check, no sending off. Liverpool player shielding the ball, no VAR check, no sending off. Rashford does it, gets sent off. And I think the most annoying thing about VAR and refs at the moment is the inconsistencies. It's like they don't know their own rules. It's like they decided, okay, sometimes that's a red, sometimes that's not a red. But if it's Man United playing, it's a red. And I hate to use that VARs against us because I don't think we've been good enough this season. We've not been convincing this season. But you look at it and you think, well, why is half the reds that we're getting, or half the penalties we're conceding, or half the goals we're getting disallowed, one of those things where they'll be allowed in another game, where it's totally acceptable in another game? Why is it only that's a red if it's a United player? Why is it, the first goal that Copenhagen scored, one of the players was offside blocking Onana's view. The amount of goals we've had ruled out for that, but that's not going to get ruled out for Copenhagen. I'm not saying it should be ruled out, but my point is it's the inconsistencies, because there's about 7 or 8 decisions that have gone against us, but within the same week has happened to another team and it's not gone against them. And I feel like we are at that point where you're like, oh, it just feels like an agenda. And I hate to say, oh, it feels like an agenda, this and that. And I hate to be one of those people that's going to start calling it an agenda and stuff. But it does realistically feel that way. It feels like nothing at all is going our way. And you see Liverpool player do this exact same thing and there's no red card. And I thought the referees in the Premier League were shocking. But Europa League, do you remember the Martinez red card? Martinez got not red card, Martinez penalty. We had 3 or 4 decisions go against Martinez this season for the most BS reasons ever. Do you remember the Europa League when Martinez, 3 yellow cards, the penalty went against him? And I just think European referees, they've always been crap, to be honest. I feel like European referees never like English sides. And because I always feel like pretty much every English team always gets shafted over by European referees. Or maybe that's just me, maybe that's just something I've noticed, but I always feel like the European referees don't like English sides as well. Dalot is not a defender, but defensive winger. I think Dalot's a defender. I think the thing is, Dalot he's like Trent, but nothing like Trent. Trent's obviously a lot better, but you see Trent Alexander-Arnold can be really good, but he has such an easy defensive error prone in him. And what Dalot did yesterday was defending like Trent, because up until the first 40 minutes of the game, I thought Dalot was phenomenal. Dalot was an 8, 9 out of 10 yesterday. I thought he started really well. I thought Wan-Bissaka started really well. And then when we went under pressure, we went down to 10 men. Dalot kind of caved. But the thing is, if Dalot doesn't make that mistake and he's there at the back post and they don't score that goal to make it 3-3, then I don't think they'd score the goal to make it 4-3. I think it was just momentum and us bottling it. Then Dalot gets an 8 out of 10. Like, Dalot was having an 8 out of 10 performance, but then he went down to a 4 or 5 just because it's the most basic defending yet again. And he did it versus Newcastle. He did it today, and I think that's the frustrating thing. Like, I don't think Dalot is a bad player, but I think it's the consistency, the easy mistakes as well. But I think, for me, Dalot probably is more complete than Wan-Bissaka, but Wan-Bissaka is definitely a lot more defensively sound. Manchester United women are 6-0 up, so big up the Manchester United women as well. City get good decisions because they pay everyone else off. Do you know what? I'm not one for conspiracies and I'm not one for agendas, but we know Pep Guardiola had a history being at Barcelona when they were paying off refs and stuff. We know that Pep's had a history with cheating following him in his career and coaching career in the clubs he's at. We know Barcelona are being investigated. We know Man City have 100 FFP charges. If it came out in a few years, and I'm not saying that they have, because I'm not one for conspiracy and stuff, but if we sat here in 5 years and it came out that Man City will be investigated for the last few seasons for paying referees or paying VAR, I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised. I really wouldn't. I think that Man City have probably had the most luck out of all the sides of VAR. So it wouldn't shock me, but I think just luck, really. The thing is, because people just don't care about Man City. If they give Man City a favour and they're a dodgy favour, there's not much outrage. You have to look at this, and I will say this about VR, and this is the reason United gets shafted, because they care about outrage. When they made that mistake for the first game of the season versus Wolves, where Wolves should have had a penalty, TalkSport kept going on about it. Sky Sport kept going on about it. It was on and on and on and on and on and on and on in the media. That one mistake versus Wolves was the biggest thing in the media that week. It got more attention than Man City's treble. Okay? If the Kovacic should have been sent off versus Arsenal, got a bit of attention, but that's just from Arsenal's side, not the media. If Manchester United get a decision go their way and it's a dodgy decision like the one versus Wolves, the media starts slamming it. Manchester United. So VAR now, they know if they give us the benefit of the doubt in a decision, because people are so salty and angry at United because we used to succeed loads back in the day and they're jealous and they hate our success. Because of all of that, now there's big outrage. Now there's complete, utter, massive outrage from rivals, from the media when United get a decision go their way. So I think when VAR make a decision, they always try and look at it to go against United, because they know there'll be less outrage if a decision goes against United than if a decision goes for United because of the outrage. And that's my theory on it. It's not on agenda or paying refs or anything like that. I think it's the fact that when we had one decision go our way this season, and the only decision that's gone away this season, they made such a fuss. It got more attention than the Man City treble. They made such a kick and fuss about apologising to Wolves. But we've seen 5 or 6 worse decisions than Wolves should have got a penalty. The Liverpool game, they scored a goal, it was offside. We've seen so many worse decisions, but it's Man United. They got one decision go their way. Let's scream, make a fuss. That just seems to be the case. We're so close to 100 likes, so do hit that like button as well. How close am I? Oh, yes, guys. Should we check the subscriber count? We are very, very close. We are 28 subscribers away from 74k, so do subscribe if you're new as well. It looks like we're targeted by very average refereeing. I just think it's the fact that if they get the decision, if a VAR decision goes against United, there's not too much outrage only from United fans. If a VAR decision goes United's way, Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, everyone outraged and goes, "Oh, Manchester United." It's like, shut up. We've been done dirty more than any team by VAR, and I don't want to be sitting here talking about VAR this whole live stream, because at the end of the day, we've not been good enough. We don't have enough excuses. But you've got to look at it and you have to say, like, we've been done so dirty. Arteta's putting out a statement and Arsenal putting out a statement just for a push on Gabriel. The amount of times that's happened to us this season, and we're not putting out statements. The Arsenal one was silly, but we're not here to talk about VAR. We are here to talk about the news. We are here to talk about the Manchester United transfer news, updates, all things in the world of Manchester United. So, yes, let's get into that as well. Alice, is Hojlund the next great striker for Man U? Is it too early? I think he's got the capabilities and the potential to be a great striker for United. I think Rasmus Hojlund's a solid striker, and when you give him service, he performs. I think he's 20 years of age. I'm a massive fan of Rasmus Hojlund. He's one of the few players in this Manchester United team right now, and I'm like, there's not many players at Man United right now that I like. Really, not at all. And Rasmus Hojlund is one of them. I'm a big fan of Rasmus Hojlund, massive fan of Rasmus Hojlund. I think he's a golden gem. I think the problem is he's at a very unstable Man United, where the future's very unstable. We're going to talk about the takeover, Joel Glazer potentially having to leave. We're going to talk about Ratcliffe and all of that, and that could be positive. But he's a very unstable United at the moment. We're not creating enough chances, and we've got a lot of toxicity problems. And my biggest fear is Hojlund's development. Will he go to United and end up getting caught in this toxic loop and then become one of those inconsistent players that underperforms? Or will he come to United and thrive? Because I feel like we have loads of good players that come to United with loads of good potential. They play well for a little bit and then they get sucked into that United bubble of underperforming dressing room leaks, the drama. Because I think Rasmus Hojlund is a fantastic player. I think at 20 years of age, he's so mature. I like the fact that he can hold up the ball so well. He's got a good finish on him. He gets in good areas. He's intelligent. He can dribble. He can hold up the ball. He can press. He works hard. He's got a great mentality. I think it's very early days, but I've seen enough from Rasmus Hojlund in terms of the attributes that he has and the intelligence he has and the mentality he has to say that this guy can succeed, but he's going to need the right players around him. And will he have the right players around him at United? This depends on how the takeover progresses. This depends on how everything progresses at United. And we're going to talk about Taremi coming in as a support striker for Hojlund, about to say Haaland there. That's a big story coming in. We've got reports on Todibo coming in, and number 6 and number 8. There's a lot of interesting stories coming in, but I think Rasmus Hojlund's one of the brightest sparks at United right now. Massive fan of the guy. I think the fact that he can press, hold up the ball, lay on the ball well, absolutely brilliant player, Rasmus Hojlund as well. I think Hojlund could be great if he had a good midfield behind him, but other than Bruno, I don't think we have any players that can find the pass he needs for good runs he makes. Yeah. But the one thing I will say is the way that Manchester United tactically set up in the first 40 minutes yesterday, Hojlund could have had a hat-trick. So we've been playing all season under Ten Hag 4-3-3 with 1-6 left completely on his own and 2 8s ahead. And we've seen Casemiro struggle, we've seen McTominay struggle, we've seen Amrabat struggle in that 6 role. But this was the first time where Eriksen was playing as a 6 as well as McTominay. This was the first time all season we've actually played with 2 6s and a 10 instead of a 6 and 2 8s. And I think it worked a lot better in our build-up structure because then we didn't have this big hole in the midfield between the 6 and the 8s. We had 2 players there to kind of fill that space, and we got a lot better in build up that game. And I'm not a big fan of McTominay Eriksen pivot, I'm not. But I do think in general, creating chances comes down to control. You've got players like Bruno Fernandes that can create chances. Even Mason Mount is good at creating chances. But creating chances comes down to control. And versus Copenhagen, we created chances for Hojlund because we had more control of the midfield. And I think our biggest problem this season is a lack of control in midfield, which I think is why so many people are so eager for us to sign Kobbie Mainoo and stuff, because we've really lacked control in the midfield. But we saw because we played this it was almost like a 4-4-1-1 formation. And the fullbacks were really wide, and Eriksen and McTominay kind of sat deep. And then build up, because we were progressing the ball a lot better through the midfield phases rather than lobbing it long. But you could then actually start to create something. And we created 2 or 3 chances when we had 11 men. Good chances of Hojlund, who almost got a hat-trick. So I think a big part of it is, we need to create more from Hojlund. We're struggling to create chances. But I think one of the reasons we're struggling to create chances isn't because we can't create chances. It's just because we've struggled in build-up in midfield. And I think that was the one game this season where our build-up in midfield has been good because Ten Hag made some tactical tweaks. And hopefully he sticks with those tactical tweaks, even though we lost the game, because it was going to win us the game. So I think while Bruno Fernandes can create and there's question marks over who else can create, funny enough, Rashford's pretty much got all the assists to Hojlund that a lot of people seem to forget. I think it's about control. I think the more you control a game, naturally you're going to create more chances. If we can get more control in the midfield, build up better, I think that we'll be a better team and create a lot more chances, in all honesty, as well. Amrabat chose the wrong Man United. People are saying, look, I'm not worried about Amrabat yet. I don't think Amrabat's hit the ground running, but Amrabat hasn't really had a run of minutes. When Fred first joined United and he was crap in his first sort of half season, and then all of a sudden we had injuries, so Fred started 4, 5, 6 games in a row, and then he started playing some decent stuff when Ollie came in, because he was kind of poor under Mourinho, and then Ollie came in. I'm not saying that Fred was ever brilliant, I'm not, or anything like that, but I'm saying Fred started really iffy, and then he got a run of games, and then we saw he could be an important player for United. I'm not saying that Fred is the best midfielder we've ever had, or comparing him to Paul Scholes or anything like that, but I'm saying sometimes with a player, we saw it with Fred happen in his early United days, sometimes they need a run of games. They could be rusty, and I think that's something we're struggling with. I am going to get into the Taremi news. United set to bring in Taremi as well. 4-4-1-1 is the way to go. I've been saying it for a long time. And the 4-4-1-1 really helped us when we had 11 men on the pitch as well. And I have to say, this is a good point by David here, because I know Rashford got sent off, and I know Rashford's been poor this season, and I know that Rashford's not really been good on the right-hand side when he's played on the right-hand side for Manchester United, but I actually thought when Rashford was on the pitch, he was having quite a good game on the right-hand side. His ability to just control that ball in the air and take it down was absolutely phenomenal. I'll be honest with you, I was really impressed with what I saw from Marcus Rashford in that first sort of 20, 30 minutes. I thought he was simplifying his game. He looked a lot more in control. He was linking up with the fullbacks well, especially because he's not really favourable at the right-hand side. And it's a shame that he got sent off, because I think Rashford's a confidence player. And I thought Rashford was having a decent game until he got sent off. And although I get why he got sent off, you can't get mad at Rashford for that. He's shielding the ball. He had no intention of getting sent off whatsoever as well. The Argentine guy at Real Betis, we're looking at him, called Guido. Yeah, I've heard we're looking at him, but I think it's just paper talk linking to United for more clicks, because there's no one that's super, super reliable saying we're in for him as well. Big up Saeed in the chat. Big up Saeed. Go check out Saeed's channel if you have not already as well, people. But yeah, I think it's I think it's a difficult one to take, still thinking of yesterday's game, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not super mad because I saw something a lot better in build-up for United, and I saw something to build on. I don't think it's good enough. I'm not happy with the football we're playing, but I saw something when we had 11 men to go, if we can actually do this more, implement this 4-4-1-1 more, I'd be a lot more happy with it. So I actually don't feel as awful as I do normally after defeat. I think we're out the Europa League. I think we bottled it. Not Europa League, Champions League. I'm at the point where if we're not getting into the round of 16, just dump us out the group and give us one game a week to work on tactical stuff. I don't want to be in the Europa League. I'm fed up of playing on Thursday nights. For me, we win our next 2 games and we get out the group, or I'd probably say one game a week and we can work on tactical stuff, because I think he made a tactical tweak, Ten Hag, and I think it looked a lot better. I think things need to change. I don't like McTominay and Eriksen in the pivot, but I will say that they looked all right in that first sort of 40 minutes, and we just folded as a team and went down to 10 men. But I'd say there were weirdly some positives to take as well. Maybe I'm at the acceptance stage. Like, is this a good thing? Am I, I'm trying to find positives in a Man United loss. Is this a good thing? Oh, have I lowered my standards? Sometimes I sit there and I think, we've lost a game to Copenhagen, a must-win game in the Champions League. We've seen Liverpool beat Newcastle with 10 men, and I'm going, oh, this was a positive, that was a positive. So maybe we're at the acceptance stage. I think the season has just been so bad that I'm just fishing for positives about Manchester United. Because I feel like if you're just negative, it just drains you as a fan as well. So I always try and be as positive as I can about United. And I definitely saw better football from us. But we've got to talk about the club. We've got to talk about some of the issues. We've got to talk about mentality was a massive issue. And I think, Amrabat's a worrying one. I'm a big fan of Amrabat. Big fan of Amrabat. And I think he will come good. But it's already coming out now that we've got no plans to sign him permanently. He's just going to be a loan deal. It's almost feeling like Amrabat was one of those emergency signings. A player that I didn't think should be an emergency signing, a player that I rate. It feels like Amrabat is being an emergency signing now, like with Sabitzer and like with Weghorst. We've got him on loan. We're saying we're not going to keep him, anything like that. But the interesting thing that United Muppeteers said is that it's likely that Casemiro and Amrabat both part ways in the summer. So we've got to look at this and go, we've got a lot to do this summer. And it would have been nice if we had the Qataris coming in, because they're capable of doing a lot more than Ratcliffe, especially with the Glazers being here under Ratcliffe. But we've got a big 2020-24 in terms of transfer windows, stuff coming ahead for United. From what I'm hearing, we need a number 8. We need a long-term Eriksen replacement. We need a long-term Casemiro replacement. We need a 6. We need an 8 with potential to play in the 6th role. I guess you've got Kobbie Mainoo who's coming through, so you could say that. But we need a number 6. We need a number 8. We need probably 2 centre-backs if Varane ends up going at this rate. So we're talking 2 centre-backs, a number 6, a number 8, a right wing and a striker. And then potentially even a right back. You're looking at 6-7 signings for United in the future, which is mad. So we've got a lot to do. And reportedly we're looking at centre-backs and young strikers and young right wingers. If Sancho goes permanently, it's said that United would potentially pursue signing a right winger if there's money in for Sancho. But right now, United's focus is on centre-back and the striker in January, with support striker for Hojlund to help and develop being the priority. And that because United know they're going to lose Anthony Martial for free in the summer, they're potentially interested in bringing in, interested in selling Martial if they can get any money for him, because they don't want to lose him for free, and bringing in a striker. But the thing is, with Martial's injury record, and I'm sorry I sound a bit weird, but my throat and my nose is completely gone, so I do apologise. I forgot what I was saying now. But my throat and my nose is a bit gone at the moment, so I do apologise if my voice is a bit not in its graces as well. Part of me thinks the Casemiro stories about wages. If Saudi offered anything near what we paid him, it would be a no-brainer. He's still like 60 mil on his contract. Yeah, potentially. I mean, I like Casemiro and he's dropped off a bit this season, but Casemiro has done the same role as Amrabat, and both have struggled. Is Casemiro a bad DM? No. Is Amrabat a bad DM? No. I think it was the setup of this 4-3-3 with 2 8s, because Ten Hag, for the first half yesterday, played a 4-4-1-1 with Eriksen playing alongside McTominay. And I think that's what we've got to do going forward. We've got to, I know that I want to see Ten Hag style and implement what he did at Ajax, and we keep asking about that, but Ten Hag might need to adapt, because the big problem is the midfield. We could play maybe a 4-3-3 with 2 8s when Luke Shaw and Martinez are back in the side because they're good in build-up, they're good at progressing the ball. And I think people don't realise how big a miss Lisandro Martinez is for United. Lisandro Martinez was one of our best players in terms of progressing the ball and build-up last season. So when we had issues in the midfield build-up, because we were playing a midfield three of Eriksen, we're playing a midfield three for many games of Casemiro, Fred, Bruno, none of which are particularly good on the ball, but we had Martinez and Shaw to help progress the ball up the left-hand side. I think when Martinez is back, we'll be a lot better in progression as well. Romano's confirmed that Jean-Claude Blanc has a big chance of joining United. That's quite good. Again, I'm not going to pretend I'm some expert on Jean-Claude Blanc, but we did a video on him and what he'd bring to United and his career history, and he looks like definitely an improvement on Richard Arnold. I mean, who wouldn't be an improvement on Richard Arnold? You can say that, but look, I've said this for a while. I think Paul Mitchell's good. I think Jean-Claude Blanc's good. If Paul Mitchell and Jean-Claude Blanc are replacing Arnold and Murta, I think that's a really positive thing in terms of what we can hope for. The big question mark, and I've said this every time, is I think Blanc and Mitchell in for Arnold and Murta is brilliant, but how much power will they have? Because Jim Ratcliffe's getting 25%. Jim Ratcliffe's taking sporting control. But that's still 25%. How much power will he have? Because Joe Glazer's still there at the reins. Can they be able to make the changes that we want them to make? I think that's the big question now. How much power are they going to have? Will they be able to make the changes that they need to make as well? But I do think that we did a video on Blanc, and I do think it's a good game. It's a good game. This is I'm ill. So my brain, my head, my nose, my mouth. It's not syncing up today, so I do apologise. I felt a bit better, so I thought I'd do a live stream, but we're not quite syncing up as well. Not having Leacher in the dressing room either. Yeah, Sabitzer said that Leacher was one of the leaders in the dressing room, and there was a lot of reports that came out last season saying that Sandro Martinez was one of the biggest figures in the dressing room. So I think even Man United miss him in that sense as well. Diego makes an interesting point here. When your fullback used the width to get forward, your midfield were able to dominate the play better. Spot on, Diego. What worked really well in those first sort of 40 minutes versus Copenhagen was our fullbacks were really wide, utilising the width more, which meant the opposition had to spread out their midfield more, which meant that more gaps opened up. And then we had McTominay and Eriksen playing in that deeper role, and there was gaps opening up. And then when all of a sudden we could play the ball better through the midfield, and we got a few chances rolling into Hojlund. I think the first goal was a really good team goal as well. So solid point there as well. Aston Villa and 1 goal down to Acid Alkmaar as well. But yeah, Lisandro Martinez, I can't wait till he's back, but I don't want to rush him back. There's some rumours saying he'll be back in December, but I'd rather wait until January if it's going to be a rush to get him back in December. I think we're at the point with Lisandro Martinez where we rushed him back. He wasn't playing great. He got injured. For me, if Martinez is expected back in December, but we're rushing him back for December, play him in January. I think we cannot rush Martinez back. I think Ten Hag's making sure he does that with Kobbie Mainoo, not really diving them yet, putting him in the under-19s here and there. So I think that's what you've got to do. Kobbie Mainoo, don't rush him back. Luke Shaw, don't rush him back. Martinez, don't rush him back. Casemiro, don't rush him back. I think one of the problems we have is we're rushing back players because we're in this desperation for injuries. And that just means they're not playing as well, or they're getting injured as well. But the interesting thing is, Romano and many people are talking about Blanc and Blanc being a real possibility for United, which, again, massive improvement on Richard Arnold. And as I was reading a report earlier today, Richard Arnold's really not happy at United. He's really not happy with that lack of clarity around his job. And Richard Arnold's sort of not, I think Richard Arnold's fallen out with a lot of people at Manchester United from what's sort of been spoken around the block and stuff. So Richard Arnold comes to United, obviously, and he had that whole Greenwood situation that upset a lot of staff and people. A lot of fans aren't happy with him, the job he's doing. We spent all this money on Anthony, we spent all this money on Mount. But Richard Arnold, wanted Qatar because he thought his job might be safer with Qatar. And Richard Arnold's had some fallouts and frustration with the Glazers over his job, the future of his job, security of his job. And I think now we're hearing, from Romano that Blanc's really like to join United. I think Richard Arnold will be looking at it going, oh, my job's gone. But the Glazers won't communicate that with Richard Arnold. So not that I have sympathy for Richard Arnold because I think he needs to go. But I guess if you're an employee and you're reading all over the media that Blanc's going to come to United, you know that he's taking your job. But those at the top of United, Joel Glazer, won't be communicating that to Richard Arnold as well. People saying we need to be patient. Yeah, I think for me, I always wanted a full sale. I always wanted Qatar. But the way I see it is we've got to, I guess, be patient. It's going to be a long process. We've got to hope that Ten Hag can turn it around and we see some adaptations and process in the way we're playing. We've got to wait for this new recruitment team of Paul Mitchell to come in and Blanc to come in and hope that recruitment gets better and improves, because while Jim Ratcliffe isn't Qatar and while Jim Ratcliffe isn't going to make us like City or make us like Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal, they don't have the best owners in the world. But Liverpool and Arsenal's owners actually employed competent people and put a good strategy in place. So Liverpool and Arsenal getting some level of success. And it might take it'll probably take 2 or 3 years for this strategy to be shown. But I guess if Ten Hag's here and then he works with Blanc and Mitchell when we put a strategy in place, you'll see after 2-3 transfer windows that we're generally building something. And I think Ten Hag needs to improve tactically. I think Ten Hag's management and substitutions needs to improve. I think he needs to work on the mentality of the players. I think some of the players aren't good enough. I think some of the players need to work harder. But I think most importantly, we've sacked so many managers that I think sacking Ten Hag and bringing in another manager doesn't change too much where we're at personally. We sacked Oli, we sacked Ragnick. We didn't really sack Ragnick. He was only going to be interim anyway. Mourinho, Van Gaal, Moyes. We're in this cycle of continuously sacking managers every 2 years. And then we're also talking about the bad recruitment under every manager. Then I'm at the point now where I'm like, we'll change the recruitment, change the people that recruit the players, change the structure at the top, and then we'll talk about sacking the manager. And that looks like what Ratcliffe will be doing, which for me is definitely a positive as well. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That's just life. Yeah, I agree as well. Play Rashford and Hojlund in a 4-4-2, Dalot and Bruno wingers. I mean, look, Dalot and Bruno wingers, personally wouldn't do that. To be honest, I'd like to see Hojlund and Martial play together. I've always said this. I'd be really intrigued to see Hojlund and Martial play together for United, and if we ever did two forwards up top, because I think Hojlund and Martial could have quite a good duo shit. But I think Ten Hag, the way he wants to play, only wants to play one forward, and I don't think Martial has the legs to play left wing again. Hearing reports that Luis Diaz's father was returned back, which is very good. No matter the rivalry to Liverpool, we all want Luis Diaz to be back with his father and stuff. I saw one Man United fan making jokes about Luis Diaz's father, and I don't get it. I don't get it when people make jokes about Hillsborough or Luis Diaz's father. It's like, as much as I hate Liverpool, there's a line when you make jokes, and you don't make jokes about those kind of things. I think it's just so immature. So immature. But should we get into the transfer news? Because I've realised that I've been waffling quite a bit this live stream, and I've not really got massively into the transfer news. So I'm going to scroll through the news now. So if you just joined the live stream, this is everything you need to know on the transfer front. It is very likely that Casemiro will go to Saudi Arabia at some stage in the next year to 18 months, and Amrabat is likely to leave Manchester United in the summer, with Manchester United showing no intentions to get Amrabat signed on a permanent deal. That was the first story coming out as well. The second story coming out today was that Manchester United are exploring making a £10 million offer for FC Porto striker Taremi in January. It's believed United could also offer him a wage of €4.5 million per year after tax. Of course, they've got to include the bloody wages in as well. It said that Erik ten Hag's objective is to sign an experienced centre-forward to take some of the responsibility of Hojlund's shoulders, and Taremi fits the bill. So United will be looking at Taremi, who'd be available for around £10 million as well. It was also said, on top of Taremi, Manchester United have made it very clear that they want to sign a defender and are actually looking at potential defenders that could be available in the January transfer window, however, could depend on the funds. Manchester United are very interested in Evan Tapsoba of Bayer Leverkusen, Goncalo Inacio of Sporting, Jean-Claire Todibo of Nice, who's owned by Jim Ratcliffe, and of course, Antonio Silva by Benfica. It's seen that Todibo could be the most likely due to his Nice connections with Ratcliffe, and of course, him being the cheapest in United, almost signing him in the summer. We know that Todibo has made it very clear he wants to join United, but the Man United's preferred option in terms of a long-term option would be Antonio Silva in the summer, but that will depend, of course, on funds. It was then said by Corriere dello Sport that Manchester United will provide competition to Juventus and Atletico Madrid in pursuit of Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in January. Again, not a very good source, but there are some reports coming out that we're looking to sign Højbjerg in January. I know we almost got him on loan, but I don't think Højbjerg's the type of player we need. And I think it's lazy journalism and it's not a good source. There are reports that Varane could be going to Saudi Arabia in January. However, Fabrizio Romano came out today and said there's nothing ongoing with regards of Varane getting a January move away from Manchester United as well. So it's unlikely that Varane will leave. But there's a feeling that maybe in the summer, Varane, Casemiro, Amrabat, a lot of players leave United. There's a feeling that there could be a 10, 11, 12 player clear out in the summer for Manchester United. And the worrying thing about that is, will we bring in the players to replace them? I'd love to do a 12-player clear out. But if we're not going to bring in the players that can replace them, it won't be good at all. Give me 1 second, people. Give me I'm back. So I went to get a tissue. I went to itch my nose and I could see it started running. And I was like, that's not going to be nice to see on stream. So do apologise for that as well. But continuing on with the news. So I think Taremi, £10 million is a short-term option. I am kind of personally fed up with Manchester United going for short-term options all the time. You know how I feel about that. But I think when you look at it, £10 million of Taremi, he's in his late 20s. Was he 30? Let me Google. I think he's 28. Or 29. Taremi, he's 31. I thought he was 29. He's 31. I think he's, for me, a short-term option on loan. Support striker for Hojlund's fine. I think he's a different profile to Hojlund, and I think he's a good striker, and I think he's got good all-round game. But it's a very United signing. It's a very short-term United signing. For me, I'm fed up with short-term signings. I don't want to see us doing loan deals or 5 million deals in January yet again. Because Ten Hag's had more short-term signings than any other manager. He's had Weghorst, he's had Sabitzer, he's had Johnny Evans, and he's had Reguilon coming in as short-term signings, and then Taremi would be another short-term signing. If we sign Taremi for 10 million, I'll be happy with that because that's a good backup to Hojlund because you never know, Hojlund could get injured and we want maybe someone with a different profile to Hojlund. So if Hojlund's struggling in the game, we want someone to bring on. I know that Martial's been decent, but Martial's just an injury away waiting to happen. Martial hasn't got the legs. So I'm not opposed to us signing Taremi. I think as backup for Hojlund, it's great, but I think it's the feeling that it's just another short-term deal. I'd love to see United go out in January and bring in Nico Williams, Marcus Leonardo and Todibo, and then go out in the summer and bring in Antonio Silva, the number 8 that they want, whether that's Palacios or Onana, a long-term number 6 to replace Casemiro, and then maybe someone like Frimpong, and then maybe an experienced striker. That's what I want to see from United, but that feels like it'll be way too much to ask for United as well. 180 likes, so let's go for 200 likes as well. Alice, do you think Eric Ten Hag / Hojlund 4-3-3 is the right system for United? I usually think the attacking potential of 4-3-3 is something off to me. Maybe 4-4-2 or 4-5-1 to address midfield issues. I think with the right signings and the right recruitment, 4-3-3 is best. But I think with the players we have now and the problems we have in the build-up, I think that 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2 or just making sure that McTominay and Eriksen are playing deeper together will probably help. Because I think when we're playing 1-6 on his own with 2 8s, that's where United seem to be struggling as well. What about Tapsoba? He's an option out there, but I can't see him leaving Bayer Leverkusen anytime now for Manchester United. If you look at how good Bayer Leverkusen have been, they've been absolutely brilliant at the moment as well. The issue we need is a culture fix, not short-term mediocre fixes. I'm speaking as a fan of another team as well that did that for 30 years. I'm a Detroit Lion fan. Big up for the chat. I think, yeah, mentality is a big problem at United. There's a culture fix. There's a culture problem. I think we need the right recruitment. I think we need to fix the culture by getting a lot of the bad eggs out, and we need to bring players with the right mentality in as well. There's a culture fix needed, a recruitment fix needed. There's a lot of fixes needed at Manchester United. But, guys, I'm going to round up the live stream here because I can barely speak. I feel like the live stream quality hasn't been as good as normal because I can barely speak as well. It has just said now a date has been set for the announcement of Sir Jim and Ineos' stake. So that'll be interesting there, but I can barely speak and my nose is kind of going. So probably not in the best state for a live stream here, but big up everyone that tuned into the live stream. Please do hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. See you next time. Bye.